to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, where we bring voices and stories to the mic. I am your girl, Tamekia. We are everything her, helping to elevate and redefine our sister friend and sister friend tribe. Be sure to stay connected with me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Today, we are going to journey through the decades. And when I say decades, I mean we're going to talk about the 20 Club, the 30 Club, and the 40 Club, right? Sprinkled with the understanding of growth, because growth is one of our pillars. But before we jump into the episode, let me give you today's affirmation. Today's affirmation is I am protected from malice any person bears on me. I am protected from jealousy and envy. I am protected from destructive words and weapons formed against me. My light will shine as I align myself with the higher power in all things created for me. That is your affirmation for today. Let's get into it. So, today, we're going to talk about the 20s versus the 30s versus the 40s, right? And I like to call them clubs because in each decade we are growing in each decade, right? And growth is one of our pillars. And so I'm just going to jump into what I remember from my 20s and my 30s, and obviously, now I'm in my 40s. But when I was in my 20s, 20s was the time full of experiences, right? And I would probably also consider it was my fun time. Didn't have much to think about as it relates to totally just being grown, because I was learning how to be a grown up, right? And so it was just full of experiences, lack of emotional intelligence, and trying to understand life, relationships, friendships, companionships, trying to understand communication, how to communicate, when to communicate, in the approach to certain situations, right? Still in that developmental stage of learning how to be a grown up. And it was lots and lots of learning as I was entering into adulthood, right? And so in my 20s, you try to learn how to be an adult, you try to live by other people's standards, and you are just trying to figure life out, and think you're supposed to know everything. You think you're supposed to know how to be an adult. And truth is, what we don't talk about is 20s is really your learning phase. It's your learning stage. And so then we jump into our 30s, right? So now we into the 30 club. In the 30 club, we are really starting to understand our experiences from our 20s, right? And so we learn from the experiences. And so in our 30s, from the experience, we really start trying to pull back layers, right? Pull back layers of pain, guilt, negativity, trauma. We implement a lot of self work on how to be better, learning how to heal. We take those experiences and we make them lessons and teachable moments. We try to teach others based on our experiences. We become more intentional in our relationships. We really start understanding that we're intentional, right? We start understanding communication, how to communicate, when to communicate, and using our voices a lot more. Being mindful of our approach, right? Being mindful of our audience. Um, we really start thinking about ourselves. We dive into our own spiritual journey versus the foundation that which what we were taught. If you grew up in the spiritual, family, and we start becoming more self-aware and become more thinkers and start growing into that blossoming into that flower that we were created to be, right? And so our 30s is more of us like learning, but we're still growing just like we grew from our 20s, but it's more about pulling back layers and becoming more of ourselves. And then we get into our 40s, in which I would say 40s has been the best for me. It has truly been the best club for me. In our 40s, we feel like we have arrived. I am here. This is me. This is who I am. We are carefree. We can care less about what others think. We are more confident in who we are. We are we are still teaching others based on our experiences. We are unapologetic. We understand the importance of intentionality. We understand people placement. And when I say people placement, I am simply talking about understanding where people fall in your life, right? Meaning, early on you create these relationships and you try to make people fit in spaces where they don't necessarily belong, because sometimes people are season reason, some people are lifetime. So when I say people placement, I'm talking about ranking people where they belong in your life, right? So let's just say you may have a scale of 1 to 5, and 1 being the low or the low, 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 right? So anywhere below a 3, we start ranking people, meaning if you rank below a 3, you don't really take up any emotional space in my life, right? And my focus is more on the 4s and 5s and understanding the boxes people belong in. Also understanding the dynamics of relationships. We learn how to meet people where they are. We tend to understand that cutting people off isn't a bad thing. And we start focusing more on ourselves. We understand that when we elevate, everybody can't come with us. I mean, 40s, I tell you, 40s is really where, this is growth, right? This is growth. I have grown from the experiences of my 20s. I peeled back the layers from my 30s. I have put in the self work. In 40s, here I am. I would love to hear what the 50s and 60 club is like, because at 40, I feel like is where, for me, I know I have arrived at a place to where I understand Tamekia better. I have fully grown into the woman I was designed to be. And I am more confident in Tamekia, right? And so while one of our pillars is growth, and that is in all aspects, physically, emotionally, financially. Hold on, let me back up. Physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Um, Understanding that growth is one of our pillars in each one of those areas, right? But because you are growing, we continue to grow. There are times where, even in your 40s, that despite how grounded you are in growth, there are situations and people that can pull you back from a place of where you have arrived, and can pull you back to pull and test your growth, I guess I should say. And you have to be mindful of certain situations and certain people, because although spiritually, emotionally, and mentally you have grown to a space to respond in a way that you would have not responded when you were in your 20s and your 30s, there are times where the situations can just take you there, right? Meaning, if a person just continue to test, poke, push, and let's be honest, even in our 40s, I believe people still think they can bully you because you may have this demeanor and or this approach about you that does not look like you are going to respond in a manner that would set them straight. So, people, again, and there are situations where people will test you, poke you, push you to your limit, and try to bully you. And so, I just want to share with you, don't lean into the negativity or malice that others may have or that others may be putting on you. Um, Take a moment and realize and assess the situation, and then you yourself can start blocking certain energies that are not meant for you nor meant for your growth. Like, it doesn't help you grow in any area, and it will continue to pull you back. And so when you are spiritually, emotionally, and mentally growing and it's tested, I want to be able to share 5 tips that will continue to help you stay grounded in your growth, right? Because just because we get to a stage where we have feel like we have become, right, and people always say, well, don't go low, we go high. There's a good chance that you may go low, right? But I'm here to tell you that it's okay. It's okay. But here are 5 things that will help you stay grounded. And one of those things, one of the tips, I should say, is communication. Communication. When we have gotten, listen, I keep telling y'all the 40 Club is the best club, because by the time you have gotten to the 40 Club, you have learned that communication is key. You have learned how to communicate. You have learned different ways to communicate. You have learned to use your voice to be able to share and explain the situation. I think sometimes where we fall short is when we're getting ready to, we fall in a tight space of understanding protecting yourself versus protecting someone else, right? And so communication is key when it comes to protecting yourself, because it's far more important than trying to protect others. When you're in a space where you can communicate exactly what may be going on, a bad situation that you may find yourself in, that also may encounter someone else, it's okay to go ahead and share the story of what's going on, because this allows you to protect yourself, and it also allows others to help protect you and also help you process the situation, process and assess the situation. So remember, number 1, communication. Number 2, find ways to release whatever it is that is going on. If you find yourself in a situation with someone that can pull you back, find ways to release, because as you internalize negative energy, negative emotions, that internal energy can cause health issues, it can cause diseases, because that negative energy, it doesn't have anywhere to go. And so guess what it does? It activates internally, causing your body to go haywire. So you must find a way to release, whether that be working out. Let's go back to communication, finding a group of people to talk to, right? Finding ways to refocus your mind versus focusing on a situation that is emotionally draining to you. So that's number 2, find ways to release. Number 3, continue to operate in your power and shine. A lot of times when we find ourselves in difficult situations, emotional situations, and draining situations, it can take a lot of energy, which goes back to having to release that negative energy, right? And so if you do these steps, you can continue to operate in your power and shine, because if you don't, if you allow the situation or allow someone to steal your power, then it impacts how you operate daily. And if you're in a situation to where you are being a vessel to others, then whatever impacts you, it also will impact others, because you cannot do what you are created to do and what your purpose is. So, number 3, continue to operate in your power and shine. Number 4, make sure you create a circle of sisters and sister friends to intercede in prayer on your behalf, which goes back to the whole communication, right? If you hold things in, then nobody can, again, protect you. And prayer is powerful. And when you allow other people to intercede on your behalf, then that helps you continue to stay grounded in your growth on the spiritual side, because you now have people on the back of you, on the side of you, and interceding for you as relates to assuring that you can stay grounded while you are in a situation that can pull you back. Number 5, if you get pulled back from being grounded in your growth, as I said earlier, if you go low, you are human, and it's okay. It is okay. I promise it's okay. Continue to let your light shine. Give yourself grace. Give yourself permission to say, you know what, I may have stepped back. I may have even went low and got out my sandbox, got out of character. Know that that's okay. But just get back up, shake it off, stand in your power, continue to shine, continue to move in purpose, and continue to do the work that you are created to do. There is always an opportunity to listen to the higher self within. So, as I sit back and I just think about, the 20s versus the 30s versus the 40s, you should be able to track, each decade and visualize and understand that where each decade is, your growth process in each. And when I say growth, I mean, like I said before, our pillar is growth. And so growth goes on a huge spectrum, from spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. And you know what? I've even missed financially. But that's the spectrum of growth. And so when you can process where you were from your 20s to your 30s and your 40s, and use those experiences and lessons, and be able to teach others, but still be able to learn from it yourself, it creates it's a personal development for you. um I just wanted to come on and share 20s versus the 30s versus the 40s. And if you find yourself in a situation, because as much as we get to be this age, this beautiful age of 40, there are times where we can be pulled back. And I just want to say that it's okay. But remember the 5 tips to help you stay grounded: communication, find ways to release what you feel, continue to operate in your power and shine, find sister friends, and allow them to intercede on your behalf in prayer. Talk to them. Be open. Share what's going on. It's the only way we could stand in the gap for each other. And number 5, if you get pulled back from being grounded in your growth, know that you are human and that it is okay. Continue to operate in your purpose, your power, and let your light shine. I am your girl, Tamekia. Make sure you stay connected with me on Facebook, IG, and YouTube at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Choose to grow daily, show up as the best version of yourself, and operate in faith versus fear. We'll see you all next Wednesday. Talk to you later.